Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Southerners Northern Garden. So this morning I'm at Natorp's. I've been getting a tour around the facilities, and I'm going to take you around as well and show you some things later. We've been walking around for about an hour kind of seeing behind the scenes, but I wanted to get in right before they open September 1st to show you what the garden center looks like and all of the things they offer. So we'll walk around and show you a few things. There's a lot of nice coneflowers and perennials right now. Perfect time to put both shrubs, trees, and perennials in your garden because they'll just settle in over fall really nicely. But look at all this color. So you're probably aware one of my favorite things recently has been adding interesting foliage to the garden. And they have a huge option of heucheras here of any color and any variety you could possibly imagine. It's really a rainbow of color. And I'll take you back and show you the greenhouse where they're storing all of these here in a moment. It's really gorgeous. And of course, my favorite section is all the hydrangeas. So they've got Firelight Tidbit, which is a new one I've been showing on my channel a little bit. It's a perfectly tiny hydrangea, only gets 2 to 3 foot tall and wide, $40. And this is a paniculata, so it blooms on new wood. You never have to worry about pruning it. Transitions to this beautiful pink earlier in the season, is my experience, than any other paniculata in my garden, and they're looking really nice and healthy. So if you're looking for hydrangeas in the Cincinnati, Dayton area, certainly a place to check out because they have a really large variety and some newer varieties that you may not find at other garden centers. And this is really exciting. I wasn't expecting to see Limelight Prime in our area anytime soon. This is also a new hydrangea that just came out last year. It is going to be, I think it's intended to be kind of a replacement for the traditional limelight. So it's supposed to have stronger stems and stay a little smaller and more manageable for those who want to tuck a big hydrangea in their garden, or one that's tried and true, but stays a little smaller so you can tuck it pretty much anywhere. The rows of hydrangeas continue this direction with lots of oak leaves, which you know I've been adding to my garden this year. Munchkin's a really nice variety that stays relatively small and is a good option for you. We have the 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲, so if we're looking to put a nice hedge in your garden, these are the ones I have on the north side of my home that I have a hedge of that's in its 3rd or 4th growing season. Looks really nice, has these beautiful big blooms. These are obviously in containers, so they're a little smaller right now, but they just get massive. They also have quick fire fab, so this is also a newer version from Proven Winners. So a really good selection of brand new hydrangeas to the market that would be pretty hard to find unless you wanted to order online. If you're interested in fall decorating, they have out their entire selection of mums. It goes all the way to the other side of the garden center. So definitely a great location to pick up your mums. All sorts of different colors. We have red, orange, yellows, really healthy looking plants. Going to be ready really soon. Some beautiful 𝗟𝗂𝗲. These specifically are reblooming varieties. So this is the Sonic Bloom Pink and Red. We also have some over here called Sonic Bloom Pearl, which is a newer variety. It looks very similar to Checkmark Trilogy, which has similar colored blooms, but this is a reblooming version. So this would be a really interesting option to add to your garden if you like the Checkmark Trilogy, because it does have the pink and white, but you want it to rebloom throughout the season. And honestly, everyone, this is one of my favorite new 𝗟𝗟𝗲s. It is called Midnight Sun. It's great to be used as like a coleus in the garden. I bought one of these and it was delivered in early spring, and I planted it out in my south side perennial bed, but it has just got gorgeous red foliage all year long pretty much. And then it transitions colors and has a nice color in fall as well. There's still a very nice selection of topiary items. So if you're into topiary, these boxwoods right here are calling my name, but I don't really have anywhere to put them yet, so I think I'm going to wait on that. But they're just gorgeous and nicely trimmed here. I am grabbing a cart because there are a few things I'm going to be grabbing today to put in the bed renovation I'm doing, and I'll share those with you in a separate video. But I made a list of shrubs. Natorp has an excellent online purchasing store that you can go to order things in advance and actually pick up at the door. They'll gather them for you, may take a couple days, let you know when it's ready, and you just swing by and pick them up. And so I have made a list based on their online inventory of things that I'm going to renovate my bed with. And so I'm going to pick those up today, and I'll share those with you in a separate video, but there's some really beautiful things here that I'm really excited about, and I may stumble upon a few other items that I want in the process. They keep pretty much the same layout of things year after year, so I pretty much know where things are, and I can head straight to that area to get it. And it's easy to find plants, and it's divided really well into evergreens, blooming shrubs, roses, their annuals, vegetables in the spring. It's a really great layout, really open and spacey to just grab what you need with these nice wagons here. I can't show you the plants I'm getting yet because that's a surprise, but just really great setup to shop at. So I've picked out my shrubs, and now we'll go take a look at some of the things that are growing on for this coming fall maybe, or next spring. But I wanted to run through this area because it's where they have a lot of their trees for sale. And I want to specifically point out this tree because it's one I'm considering adding to my garden between my neighbor and my house on the other side. So this is a Crimson Century Norway maple. And this is one of the ones that I was looking into before I picked up the Kindred Spirit oaks. It gets a little wider, but it has beautiful red foliage. Maple leaves, of course, are beautiful, but it only gets 10 to 15 foot wide. So it's a really interesting opportunity to put a maple that has really beautiful foliage, that has really upright structure in your garden at a small scale, potentially. So it might get a little too big, so that's probably not going to be going there. And I may not put anything at all, but as the years progress, I'm going to try and think of something small that I can put there that might enjoy it. But we have all of these beautiful hydrangeas on standard, which you know I love. Some 9-barks on standard, which this one's really beautiful. Look at the trunk on this thing. Really gorgeous this time of year. Perfectly sized. And I'm going to be shooting some drone footage that I'll include in this video of just the huge selection of trees they have. So if you go online, or if you come to the store and you can't find what you're looking for, if you want to look in advance ahead online at their tree selection, you can have someone assist you and bring it out, or you could call ahead maybe and have them bring it up to the front for you, or they can drive you back out there and let you pick out the trees you want. So that's what I did last year with the Kindred Spirit oaks. They weren't out here yet, but they allowed me to go back and look at the oaks back there, and I selected the 5 I wanted, and then they brought them up front for me, and I loaded them all into my little SUV. So as we head to this area of the property, they have over 300 acres of plant material here, basically. And there's a little area that they're going to be expanding, but this is where they keep some of their shrubs that they're growing on for sale in the future. We have lots of hibiscus here, butterfly bushes, but I want to take you over here specifically because they have an entire hoop house of Japanese maples we're going to walk through. But check out over there all of those candy corn Spirea, which I have one of those in my garden. I pointed out it's a really nice Spirea to have. It stays really small, but look at that pop of color it brings all season. That's not its fall color, that's its everyday color in summer. And here we are. Look at all of these Japanese maples. So I posted yesterday that I had a mahogany splendor hibiscus right next to my rising sun redbud, and how I was enjoying that yellow and orange with the red foliage from the mahogany splendor hibiscus. And I was like, well, maybe that's a good spot to add a small Japanese maple. So I'm not going to be selecting one today, but that may be an option in the spring. Look at the structure on, this is just a green Japanese maple, but check that out. Isn't that beautiful? Just a great weeping habit. Doesn't take up a ton of space, but those leaves are really nice. Let's see if we can get over there and look at them a little closer. Beautiful. These, I presume you could walk out here if you wanted or were interested in purchasing a Japanese maple. They have some also in the actual garden center themselves. But lots of just great stuff here. Some of it seems to be growing on for maybe next season, but a lot of stuff that would be ready for purchase now to go in your garden as soon as possible. Look at this laciness. This is what Japanese maples are prized for, of course. So a little story about Natorps. I was walking around with the owner's wife earlier for about an hour, and she was telling me that Kyle Natorp, who is the current president of the company's grandfather, came from Germany in the early 1900s as a horticulturalist, and he had issues finding plants and varieties that he wanted. And so he decided to create Natorps. It started as kind of like a landscape design. And then at one point they had lots of little small shops. And eventually they found that customers were wanting to purchase plants directly. So Natorps is primarily one of the big growers in Southwest Ohio. So they sell to a lot of your other garden centers around here. But they do have an outlet that is open in the spring through around July 1st, I think. And then in the fall, they reopen. They're reopening September 1, and they stay open until about mid-October for people to come and select from their outlet. They do run a wholesale business year-round for municipalities, landscapers, and that type thing. They offer landscape design services that you can purchase any time of the year. And then they have bulk materials like mulch and that type thing if you need any bulk materials. So if you're in the area and have never heard of Natorps, I highly encourage you to come check it out. I discovered them in 2019, right when I was getting into gardening. And then the pandemic hit in 2020. And my first big purchasing experience from them was actually through an online order that they offer on their website. So when garden centers were closing down in 2020 and we were really concerned about how we were going to acquire our plants, I purchased mine online early March or mid-March and came pick them up at the end of March and just held them over until our last frost. And those were the first plants that went under the willow, the Pinky Winky hydrangeas, the limelight hydrangea, and some other plants that went in that area came from Natorps in 2020. In this area, they have a lot of their perennials that they're growing on for next year, maybe some smaller shrubs. You know, I'm kind of like a kid in the candy store because I really like the behind the scenes of these type of operations. So I really enjoyed the past hour walking around, finding out, you know, kind of when they begin some of their operations and how they operate on a daily basis, how they've managed to keep up with the demand during COVID. They do and have recently started some propagation. So there's some propagation rooms right here. There's some willows down here, small non-patented shrubs that are propagated that you could propagate at home. It's just really interesting to see an operation like this. You've got all the sprayers above and circulation for the fans, because that's really important to prevent bacterial growth and fungus growth on these fresh cuttings before they're fully rooted in. I recently went in their potting barn that they have where they plant up all the bare roots and plugs and stuff they get from wholesalers themselves, like Walter's Gardens. And it was really interesting. They have this machine that puts the soil in the container, but they also have a newer mechanism of putting rice hulls on top of their perennials, which they've used as a weed suppressant because some of these perennials are overwintered, and it helps suppress weeds so they don't have to use actual herbicides on their plants, which is really nice. But we are currently in the Coneflower hoop house, and I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see all of this gorgeousness right in front of me. So check this out. We've got all of these beautiful coneflowers, oranges, greens. This is Green Jewel, which is a nice coneflower for your garden if you're just looking for something that's a little different. The blooms are like a very light green, and then the centers are also green as well. So it's just a really beautiful plant for you. But as far as the eye can see, we have coneflowers down here. And right next to this house is the 𝗟𝗂𝗏 house. So check this out. This is like one of my favorite things I've seen today. So this is a really beautiful vignette of color. And if you remember, I started kind of a 𝗟𝗂𝗏 project under my kindred spirit oaks this past year to create something similar to this, not blocks of color, but a mix mash of just beautiful foliage, almost like a ground cover in that space. So I'm hoping it's really successful. This is hopscotch. So I never remember what 𝗟𝗂𝗏 I have out front when it comes time to review and garden tours and stuff, but the variety is hopscotch, and I actually got it here a few years ago, and it has done really, really well in that part shade location. I really like the color because it comes out this new orange, kind of transitions to green. It's done really well all season. This is the perfect exercise in practicing restraint for me. So we're going to take a quick walk through the annual house. This is where they pot up a lot of their annuals that come in, you know, in late winter to prepare them for growing on in basically for customers in April when they open, late March, early April. There is a variegated banana tree over here, which I've kind of wanted to add a banana tree to my yard. I don't really think it fits in with my design style, but check this out. Really beautiful here. This is for my friend Jess. But check out all these mums, which is what they've been growing on. These are the bigger containers than you will find that I showed you in the outlet a while ago, but these can be purchased as well. And they're just really, really nice size for a good price. These are $29. And they've still got a little bit of growing on to do, so they'll be really nice and full. Perfect time for fall weather. So what I'm going to try to do is come back this late winter maybe, or early spring to show you the annual house. I was talking with the president, and that might be something we come to do because I think it will be really beautiful. Like, there's not a whole lot of color in here right now because they're, you know, growing these mums on and winding down for winter, but it'll only be a few months before this area kind of fills back up with color in preparation for next spring. And if you look above me, there's all these hanging baskets, which I didn't even notice earlier. So one of the really interesting things about their property, I always wondered how some of these large nurseries water all of their plants, because if they were bringing the water in and paying the municipality to do that, it would be almost unmanageable to do. Well, they have a huge irrigation lake, which I'll show you a video of, and they just started building another irrigation lake to put in some great areas where the water drains from all the plants that they water, basically drains back into these lakes, and they're able to recycle pretty much most of their water on this property, all of these acres, which is really incredible and sustainable. Really interesting to hear behind the scenes operations. Just based on my own background, I love, you know, how it's made, to show how it's made and that type of stuff. So seeing the behind the scenes of stuff, it's just really fun and fascinating for me. They actually open for their fall outlet in 2 days, September 1st. And so there's a lot of hustle and bustle to get everything prepared and ready for the customers as soon as possible. So I'm gonna head back to the outlet and grab my drone to show you some nice overhead shots of the area. And on the way back, I wanted to mention that Natorp has a huge variety of vegetables in the spring, some that I've not really found at any other garden centers. And I have considered myself not growing some things from seed, particularly tomatoes where I just need like one of a specific variety. It'd probably be cheaper actually in the long run for me to just purchase individual plants if I don't need a bunch of them. Some things that I could only purchase grown from seeds. So if you've never been here in the early spring, you have to get here pretty early because those things get picked over really quickly after they open. Come check out their line of vegetables because they have a really huge selection. And I'm going to end right here with all of these evergreens and boxwoods because you know I love a good boxwood. Thank you guys for joining me, and remember, in a world full of hate, be a light. Take care. Bye.